This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com. The only place to be in your pop culture world.
Come on, come on. We call it the place to be. The place to be, yes, it's the place to be. Then I shall be there.
It is contagious. It is the place to be, and we are live each and every Monday.
Do you actually need a camera for tout, or is it like part of the program?
Tomorrow got no place to be.
Yeah, I like big dick myself.
I just the man you see in the place to be.
Do you listen at all when I speak on the show?
I'm not the one who thrives on whining about carriages that are 3 inches from my fucking car.
So if it's too much for you and your big cock of the walk Knights of Columbus fat cat,
when does it end,
to bring
JR?
the carriage back to the fucking thing, then what do you want? What do you want?
When does it
You're
end?
making the poor guy making minimum wage while you're sitting there with our Mento going through the coffers. Party people in the place to be.
5 years. 5 years! We've been doing podcasts. And we have this. This is trash.
It's not Austin in LA. It's not Cabana in Chicago. It's not Conrad down in Alabama. Place to Be Nation presents Scott Criscolo and JT Rosero. This is the Place to Be Podcast.
To do worse than Josh Richard.
We doing big pimpin', we spending cheese. Check 'em out now. Big pimpin' on BLAD. We doing big pimpin' up in NYC. It's just that jigger man, MC and BUMB. Yo. Big pimpin', spending cheese. We doing big pimpin' on BLAD.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to a great episode of the one and only Place to Be Podcast. I'm your co-host, Justin Rosero. With you live here this Monday evening, and joining me as always is my PIC, Mr. Scott Criscolo. Scott, how are you?
Good evening, JR. Good evening, Place to Be Nation. Welcome to episode 552 of the longest running episodic motherfucking gold standard. We are inside 50 to 6 bills. Where's that gonna? That'll fall sometime in 2021, unless another flu comes in and we all die, or the earth melts.
There's a new pig flu floating around China, so maybe.
Oh, Christ. Fucking pigs. Anyway, but we are here, and we're going to fight it, because that's what we do for 551 episodes plus. How are you, JR? I feel like I've never seen you. It's starting to suck.
So when's the last time we saw each other?
When did I come in? When we started watching?
Yeah, it was like the first week of January.
January?
Yeah, I think so. It was like, right around. I was going to say St. Mary's, but I'm like, that can't be right. No, I guess it was the first week of January, yeah.
It was January, yeah. And then, but then I'm going to see you twice in 4 weeks, so that's awesome.
Kind of. But yeah, no, it's great. No, it was nice to actually have some normalcy this weekend. Mr. D'Amato came up. We hung out for the weekend. So we didn't do a ton, but it was just nice to be like, all right, back on the couch, eating wings, watching wrestling. Like, just that piece of normalcy was nice. So I am looking forward to it in a few weeks when you and him come down and we do the same thing. And hopefully get a nice day, a nice weekend, and just get a little touch of normalcy back in our lives. So speaking of normalcy, maybe not, it's a bad segue, but we have a interesting guest with us tonight. It is a guest that was a fan, a listener from way back. I believe he was even on the message board at some point. You'll have to tell us what came first, the podcast or the board for him. But he's been around anyway since the start. He is a original PTB Nation member, pre-website, pre-everything. He's been there since the start. But he's only been on a couple episodes, and it was only for like the trivia contests and specials. He's never actually done a Vintage Vault or any other kind of like headlines or anything like that with us. So we are excited to have him here. He does co-host the Low Blow booking podcast with Derek Cornett, and that is our buddy from Down Under, Mr. Dave Hall. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well, guys. It might be evening down there. It's a beautiful winter's morning down here in Australia. So hopefully everyone can understand my accent. But no, it's really exciting to finally be on here with you guys.
No, we're pumped to have you. Like we said, you've been around forever. Yeah. Did you message board or podcast first? How did you enter into this world?
So I found you guys through the podcast first. Okay. I discovered you guys through Graham Cawthorne's site, so History of WWE. I found your written reviews there, and then I can't remember exactly whether they linked up one of the early podcasts, but I was listening to the podcast. WrestleMania 2, I think, was the first one I heard, like the original WrestleMania 2. So I've been on from the very beginning.
And Rotella didn't turn you off, huh? You stayed with us.
I know, really. Wow. Would have been the one. That's a hell of a starting point.
Well, we're glad to have you here. Excited to talk to you for a couple hours here tonight. And we have an interesting show, Scott. It's our marathon week here. I think we've been covering this for 2 months on the show. It is the November 1990 marathon. We started with Survivor Series Showdown. We've done Survivor Series. We did the main event the night after Survivor Series. And now we go to MSG for our final show of the week, Thanksgiving week 1990. Why don't you set us up, Scott?
Yes, it has been. I feel like we've been milking Billboard and NFL games for so long, but we finally wrap up a fun week of wrestling in the World Wrestling Federation. The date is Saturday, November 24th, 1990, as we begin the holiday season in New York City, of course, on our office at 33rd and 6th, Madison Square Garden in New York City. And it was a busy day for the crew of the World Wrestling Federation roster. It was broken into pairs this time. Usually the roster is broken into thirds, but it's in pairs this week, and it's pretty easy because it's the same shows, so we don't have to go too crazy. The first pair, or the first loop, was at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh for the matinee, a.k.a. the Igloo, home of the Penguins. Here is your card. Coco Beware pinned Black Bart. The Warlord pinned Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Power and Glory defeated the Bushwhackers. The Big Boss Man defeated Bobby Heenan as the Rick Rude subs continue. Rick Martel defeated Jake Roberts via disqualification. Saba Simba pinned Bob Bradley. So you had Saba Simba, then you had Bob Bradley in those cheetah tights or whatever the hell he was wearing when he came to the Garden for us. The Legion of Doom defeated the Orient Express and Mr. Fuji in a handicap match, and they were subbing for Demolition, which I find kind of strange considering what we'll talk about tonight. And in the main event, our world champion, the Ultimate Warrior, defeated Randy Savage via countout at 10:50. And in the evening at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, another WWF bastion, stronghold, the card was literally exactly the same. Little more detail. For instance, Martel beat Jake via DQ after Martel rubbed a substance into Robert's eyes, temporarily blinding him. And Jake hit the DDT on the ref, thinking it was Martel. So which is probably how the other match ended, too. Right. Power and Glory also defeated the Bushwhackers here. Hercules used the chain as a weapon. Again, probably all the same results or all the same reasonings for results as the first show. And the other loop started the day at the Cap Center in Landover. So we all had WWF stronghold buildings on this day. We will not tell you the card because it's exactly what we'll be doing this evening. So whatever happens here with us at the Garden tonight was earlier in the day at the Cap Center in Landover. So that is it for the house show loop. So they weren't in thirds today; they were in pairs. Okay. JR, what do you got for notes and etc. and any Herb?
No, sadly, as we know, Herb is off and he's winter vacation, so he'll be back. I believe the Rumble will be the first show back with Herb. But Dave, I will ask you, as a regular listener, do you have any favorite Herb moments or notes from the past episodes that you've heard?
Look, I've really loved Herb's desire to see the Bushwhackers. The Bushwhackers squaring off against Demolition at WrestleMania earlier in the year. Earlier in the 1990 year. It was just I don't know where he got them, but it's been fun listening to what was the early onset of the internet community and the internet rumors and rumor mill going on. It's been very interesting hearing them and seeing how some of them have been so far off, but some of them haven't been too far off.
Yeah, you can tell he's getting some info, and it's fun trying to decipher like what went wrong and where he's getting the misinformation from, and it'll be fun to see as we go if that refines itself, if he gets better at determining what's real, what's bullshit, or if he just keeps dumping it out. But it must have been such a wild west out there. I mean, you got to figure he's getting the bulk of it from Meltzer. From the Torch, but some is, I think, just in various news groups around the internet that's probably getting like telephoned around and probably some trolling, and he just wasn't aware at the time. But some of it too could be just misinformation from local shows where he gets a name wrong or a guy wrong as reports coming in.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
It's been a lot of fun for sure. Just trying to decipher what he's getting at, and the times he is right is cool too. So sad we don't have Herb tonight, or I think for at least one more show. I think we don't have Herb, and then he'll be back better than ever, without a doubt. So just a couple other quick facts. Earlier this day on Superstars, the same day as this show, the British Bulldog beat Paul Diamond with the running power slam. During the bout, it was announced there'd be no Brother Love show that week. Love is now busy managing Kane, and that's all they said. No mention of the Undertaker name, just managing Kane. So looks like perhaps a name change was in the offing at that point. We'll see. Also, Sergeant Slaughter defeated Tito Santana by submission with a camel clutch at 334 after General Adnan prevented Santana's pinfall attempt by jabbing him with the flagpole. After the bout, Slaughter threw Danny Davis out of the ring, tied Santana to the rope, and demanded him to salute to the Iraqi flag. Santana spit on the flag, was attacked more until Jim Duggan made the save, knocked the flag out of Adnan's hand with the 2x4, and stomped on it and gave a pro-American speech. So it looks like the Sarge is perhaps elevating himself now. We're done with Nikolai post main event, and looks to be, and we kind of saw some transition there too, but looks to be moving on to this feud with Duggan now as his next rung of the ladder. Any thoughts on that transition?
Yeah, thank God. I mean, that Nikolai feud just had no legs left, thank God. And
it didn't have legs to start with, but yes, not even any left either.
Yeah, but barely any left. Had some legs for entertainment value, I suppose. What do you think, Dave?
Oh, at least Tito Santana can make a match look good and will sell for Sarge. I mean, the Nikolai thing just dragged on, and you're wanting to build. They wanted to build Sarge up, but they just left him with Nikolai for so long. I'm surprised they were able to get as much heat on him as they did.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dave, 100%. It's amazing it worked what it did, and it was a fine entry point for Slaughter. Duggan seems like a logical next step, and he's not doing anything anyway. It's funny they ran Tito Sarge. That was basically the third time in like 5 days or whatever. As they fought at the Showdown, then they basically fought a Survivor Series, and then they fought again on Superstar. So I guess he's de facto in this feud as well, Chico. But all right, why don't we head inside the Garden where Sean Mooney, Jimmy Hart, and the Honky Tonk Man are in the booth. Kind of an odd little team calling the action. I wonder if it's a transition point for Honky as well. We'll see. Obviously, Rhythm and Blues seems to be done. So we'll see if Honky moves into commentary role. And we have quite the opening match as the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, takes on Playboy Buddy Rose, who's announced at 317 pounds, but he denies that weight. He's got a scale with him. He steps on. He says it's 217 pounds, not 317. He's also wearing red pajamas for some reason, which is an odd style choice.
That was very random.
He looks like in an old adaptation of like Christmas Carol or something. You know, it's like the footy pajamas. Odd decision.
I wrote here he looked more like Humpty Dumpty.
Yes, it's a good comp as well. Fink gives the correct reading now for him, 217. Bulldog is so jacked up here physically. And it's a good spot. He gets the crowd revved up, and he works his way back into the card. Mooney asks if Buddy's here to wrestle or sleep, but he takes off those pajamas. Honky and Hart talk about Buddy's weight loss. Buddy does some jumping jacks, as Honky says Bulldog needs some blow-away diet as well. Rose starts hot with a hip toss and slam, but Bulldog comes back with a hip toss and slam of his own. Drop kicks Rose to the floor. That gets a pop. Rose comes back in. Bulldog works the arm. They trade arm holds till Buddy kips up, which I thought was super impressive. That's kind of a cool spot. Buddy then catches Bulldog with a hard knee as Mooney calls him nimble. Buddy keeps sitting down hard on Bulldog's back and goes to a seated chin lock. The crowd rallies Bulldog as he fights up. Rose slams down on his back and then throws him outside. Mooney talks up Bulldog, wanting to do this on his own now. Bulldog comes in with a sunset flip, which Rose blocks with a seated splash. We get a collision that Bulldog gets the worst of, and then Rose gets a 2 count. Rose heads up top, but Bulldog catches him and sends him flying with a huge slam. Bulldog slams his head to the buckles 10 times, hits a big back body drop. Bulldog hits a back elbow for 2, eats a boot when he drops his head, though, and Rose goes to a chin lock and slugs away. Jimmy talks about George Foreman versus Evander Holyfield and compares Foreman to Rose. Rose drops a hard knee to the head for 2, but Bulldog rebounds and hits a super impressive running power slam on Buddy for the win. And I like this opener a lot. It was pretty fun. Rose was great, bumping around and stooging and snapping offense. Bulldog showed off his power, and there was some good chemistry between them. This is a fun match. I went 2.5 stars, Scott. And I'll take Buddy Rose in an opener over some of the guys we've had over the years any day. And I think we've talked about this before. It's kind of got the David Wells quality where he's like grossly overweight but still pretty athletic and nimble. So he looked good out there. 2.5 on this one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I actually did too. And I remember the last time we talked about Buddy, I kind of trashed him a little bit. I think it was on a Saturday Night's Main Event, but he was definitely much better here. Your match time for this one was 8:48. And there's no doubt that Bulldog was like, I think he was sweating nandrolone or something because he was busted through the gills. But I'll never argue that Buddy Rose knows his way around a ring, regardless whether he's 2, 3, 4, 5'17", doesn't matter. I always knew Buddy Rose, but that was just that one match that night. He was just awful, but he was so much better tonight. Having said that, working with Bulldog is solid, and he's establishing himself again. And it was a fun opener. And I tell you something, I think we're going to be in for a special show tonight, just based on the roster. Maybe not the matches are all great, but there's so many good personalities, and they really loaded this show up. And I'm gonna preface that a lot as the evening continues. But a fun opener. The crowd was really into it, and they get very loud as the almost like pay-per-view-ish loud as the night progresses. So I think it was good to put this match here. Bulldog hot with the crowd, and Buddy shows up. I enjoyed it, Dave. Of all the matches tonight, this was a good one to open with. And as JR said, we've had a decent amount of ham and eggers to open MSG shows. Buddy Rose, definitely not one of them.
No, I really enjoyed this match. This is the first time I've seen Buddy Rose, apart from a couple of Superstars matches from that time period and the match that he does with Doug Summers against the Midnight Rockers on the original Shawn Michaels DVD. This is the first time I've seen Buddy Rose in a singles match in a competitive environment, and I was impressed. He was the kip up, the moving around the ring. He looked really good. There was one spot I really liked and I really liked the logic of it, where they sort of collided. Davey Boy's fallen down, and Buddy Rose actually fell on top of Davey Boy rather than the old fall next to him or fall behind him. So I thought it worked really well. I felt that maybe he got a little bit too much offense on Davey Boy. Davey Boy had a couple of good spots, but felt that he sold a heck of a lot for his sort of, we got this guy making his big return. Maybe he could have been given a little more offense, but the finish was good. The match was enjoyable, and I gave it 2.5 as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Rose probably got a little too much offense in. I mean, I guess at least he's a name guy. Like, it's not like a pure jobber. And usually these openers, they try and, give a little bit of time. But I'm with you. I thought Bulldog really could have squashed him a bit. We've seen him before, right, though, on MSG. Scott, he was in October, right?
Yes. Let me.
Yeah, he fought Haku in October. Yeah, and that was one, too, where he gave a lot. So we haven't really seen him come back here in MSG and, have a dominant return. He's fought 2 matches that have kind of been back and forth. So it is an interesting way to reintroduce him, Dave. It's a good point.
And I think it was interesting. We didn't see a couple of common Davey Boy spots. Are the overhead press slam and the standing vertical suplex. We didn't see either of those.
I'm guessing Rose's weight may have had something to do with that. Might have been
having said that, though, sorry, Jared, finish your point.
No, I was going to say that's probably why. But the power slam was super impressive. He hoisted him up, and so maybe he was saving all his strength for that. That and Buddy's kip up were the highlights of the match for me.
Yeah, but I mean, getting back to what we were saying about Bulldog and not winning dominantly. Having said that, though, he's had good matches. This was a good match. I mean, you and I gave the match with Haku 3 and 3.5 stars. So they may not be dominant one-sided performances, but they're good matches, and the crowd's been into them. So the fact that Bulldog's trying to establish himself as a solid solo guy, because for a lot of WWF fans who haven't seen him in 2 years, he's he's a member of a tag team. So regardless whether it's dominant or not, and I was thinking about that watching it today. The fact that the matches are exceptional, I feel like kind of overtakes the fact that they haven't been squashes, particularly this match. And the match went 8.5 minutes. It was a good balance in the timings of the matches this week. There wasn't a lot like long matches and then short matches. Although one match we'll talk about later was a lot shorter than I thought it would be. But for a match that was slightly under 9 minutes, it was pretty good. And again, the Bulldog didn't dominate, but it was definitely a very entertaining match and better than you would think from these two guys.
For sure.
Before we go on, I just there was one thing that really stood out to me on the commentary. At one point in the match, Jimmy Hart brings up Davey Boy's former tag team partner, and Sean Mooney so quickly moves on and that he's here on his own. And I found it really interesting. It was almost like Jimmy hadn't got the message, and we don't talk about Dynamite Kid. And I just found that quite funny.
That is funny. There must have been a directive when he returned, like, we're not going to talk about his past. He's a singles guy. And there's always been a lot of discussion around how things went down, right? That Dynamite didn't realize that Davey was going back on his own, and he took the deal on his own. It's like, I'm sure there was some part there too where Davey was like, I don't want to be associated with this guy anymore. So I'm with you. That was a good observation, Dave. I'm sure there was something along those lines where it was persona non grata. I don't remember at all if they talk about his tag work as we go. I guess we'll see, Scott, as we follow along. I haven't heard anything yet mentioned of it. So yeah, they definitely are making it like he's just a singles guy and that's it, with no background as a tag wrestler.
Which is kind of strange because, I mean, it was only 2 years ago. So, I don't know.
It must have just been that much where they didn't want to bring up Dynamite, I guess.
Maybe, I guess not.
All right. Next match is a little bit different than what we just witnessed, and that is Tugboat taking on the former one half of the Bolsheviks, Boris Zhukov. Zhukov sings the anthem, which is usually Nikolai's job, but now he's solo. He's going to sing it. Mooney says the Honky Tonk Man sings better than him, so a little backhand praise for Honky. Tugger chugs out. Boris attacks at the bell, punches away as Honky calls Tugboat a whale, and Jimmy says they better get the harpoon. Tugboat comes back with an avalanche and a clothesline for 2. Boris bails and stumbles around. Tugboat follows him, shoves him back inside. Tugboat grabs a side headlock as Honky says he didn't know whales were scavengers. Jimmy bitches about Tugboat being Hulk's buddy and helping him come back to WWF. Tugboat goes to a chin lock, but Boris comes punching back at him. Jimmy talks up his Hart organization as Boris takes hits a soft accent off the middle rope for 2. Boris chokes away as Mooney says he hasn't seen this much movement from Boris in a while. Just laying all the shots in tonight. Boris tries to slam, but Tugboat blocks and gets one of his own. Tugboat eats a boot on a charge. Boris goes to a neck vice. Mooney says Jimmy left the booth, and Honky says he had to go prep Earthquake for his match. Tugger breaks free and hits a back elbow, an avalanche in the corner. We get more whale jokes as Tugboat slams Boris and drops the splash for the win. This was slow. It was plodding. It was way longer than it needed to be. Boris had some energy, like Mooney called out, but nothing to capture the imagination. And literally for Tugboat, both here were treading water. So I went half a star, probably a little generous, Dave, but it was not fun at all.
Yeah, look, I felt that Boris lasted way too long in this match. I mean, you've got a guy who was almost in the main event. In terms of status at this point in time, he was Hogan's buddy, and you've got a bloke who's, out of a tag team that was a glorified jobber tag team, and now he's on his own as a glorified jobber, and it was a squash that just went way too long. I felt that Boris got, he was resilient and holding on, but I really think it should have ended a lot sooner than it did, and the drag out really made it struggle. And I was a half a star as well. It was difficult to watch. I just kept sitting there going, is he going to finish him off? Is he going to finish him off now? And it just never came along.
This match felt longer than it actually was. Your time is 5:57, but it felt like 11:57. Half a star for me. This match is trash. On top of the fact that Boris cannot sing the fucking Russian national anthem to save his life. I mean, Nikolai definitely had the better voice in that aspect. So, and it sounded like he wasn't even trying the words, attempting them. Tugboat is not a singles, a guy that should be enhanced as a single star in the sense that wasting house show slots, on squashes. This was really bad. Tugboat's usefulness kind of ran out, by the time we got out of SummerSlam. This was kind of a waste. Half a star. Crowd was hot for the first match, but I felt that they kind of dipped down here. I feel like we won't see that again tonight, so that's good. But,
it's just too long, like Dave said. It was just way too much from Boris in control.
6 minutes.
Yeah. I know it's a bit of a light card, but there could have been other ways to make it. I would have taken another 6 on Bulldog Rose. That was fun. This should have been a squash. Zhukov just sucks. I mean, there's no way around it. He just really doesn't bring much to the table at all. He's plotting, and even if he had his energy up to here, it's not much. I mean, it's not like he's suddenly, working sprints. So, and to your point, Scott, talk about quickly losing all. He's clearly dropping down. Boss Man kind of usurped a spot as like Hogan's number 2 right now. And he's still a Warrior up there and others. So it's definitely feeling like he's kind of lost without the true Hogan Buddy tie-in, which with the Quake feud fading, his relevance is fading as well. So it's definitely will be interesting to see how they treat him moving forward. I wanted to see how much longer Boris had So he fights here. Then he fights at Maple Leaf Gardens the next night, or the next day, I should say. It's a matinee. Loses to Tugboat again. And that may be it. So let me just see real quick in 91. No, he's got 4 matches in 91. So looks like he's gone for a couple of months. Pops in February as a replacement for Crush in a couple tags with the Rockers against Smash and Boris. He does 4 of those. 3 of those, and then he subs again for Sergeant Slaughter, actually, in a match against Texas Tornado. And then that's it. So for all intents and purposes, this is the end of his run. So we don't see much more of him. He pretty much just works the Indies a little bit. He actually resurfaced in 07 as in the ring, but I think he really more or less just, he pops up here and there at conventions and whatnot. So it's been quite the run for Boris for us. He showed up in late 87 after Sheik and Volkov broke out pretty much, the Bolsheviks.
Yeah.
So they had a good 3-year run, pretty much all in, but we will not be seeing Boris in 91.
No, he, as a matter of fact, when he came back in 07, I think he turned babyface and left and got rid of the Boris Zhukov character and went back to being Corporal Jim Nelson or whatever, which is what he was. Yeah, which is what he was in Mid-Atlantic in the early 80s. So I think that's pretty funny that he ditched the character. But
so it's actually funny how he did it. All right, hang on. So he resurfaced as a heel in American Championship Wrestling in Virginia. He was attacked and injured, leading to a face turn in a wrestle or retire match on September 8th for Eclipso's ACW title. Before the match, Zhukov told the crowd he was retiring, but he had chosen a replacement. Later that night, his old persona, Private Jim Nelson, who had not been seen since 1983, revealed as a replacement. He was clean-shaven, dressed in army camouflage, and came out and won the match on the title, and then the title was held up due to controversy. So that's a pretty funny way to go about it.
That is crazy, right?
Yeah, he was actually part of that big class action suit as well in 2016 that got dismissed around the head injuries and everything with the WWE.
Yeah.
Oh, so Boris Zhukov was complaining about a head injury. With the size of his head, I would have been hard to work out when he got hurt.
Right.
But he was part of the whole group with Kernodle and Slaughter in the early 80s and Crockett in Mid-Atlantic. And I remember I've been watching the territories, and I remember watching those like, he looks familiar. Is that who I think it is? And I honestly had no idea. I had no idea. And I'm watching, I'm like, he looks familiar. And I look and I go, fucking A, it's Boris. And then sure enough, he leaves Crockett, goes to Mid-South, and becomes Boris Zhukov. Of course, Bill Watts spells his name like 6 different ways. But so he became Boris Zhukov in Mid-South in, late 83, early 84. And then he moves on to, I think Vern takes him. I think he's in AWA till he comes here. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, he's fucking useless at this point. And there's a match later on in the show that I would have very easily taken all 5 minutes of this show and of this match and put it on one later on. So, but anyway, at least Tugboat got the win, even though he's not worth much either. But
all right,
let's move on.
Back to the wing. Oh, back to Mike Phillips. So back to the ring, and quite the match here. Third off the top on this show tonight as Hulk Hogan takes on the massive Earthquake in a big SummerSlam rematch. Scott, was this the matinee or the night show? Did you mention? I'm sorry.
This is the night show.
Okay, so it's not like Hogan was trying to get to the other town, so it's pretty surprising they have this early.
Yeah.
Usually they'd be the mid-show main event, but this is even earlier than that.
Yeah, I was stunned. I thought maybe Hogan just won an early night. I don't know, to go to the bars.
Maybe I was going to say maybe he and Vince were going to go out partying after this, because I was in shock at how early it was on.
As a matter of fact, let me look at the.
Well, they had that matinee in Toronto the next day. Let me see if he was on that show. Quick, I got it pulled up.
Let me see where he is on the show at the Cap Center.
Well, he's in Toronto. He's in the Toronto show. He fights. I just had it. Yeah, he fights Quake. He fights Quake in the main event in Toronto. That's a matinee. So maybe they wanted to get them there. Maybe they wanted to get them out of here and into that show. That's my guess.
Okay. The only difference, now that I just noticed this, that match is 5th on the Cap Center card earlier in the day. And as a matter of fact, the only difference between the two shows, Boris Zhukov was not on this show, was not on the Cap Center show. Tugboat beat Bravo. So there is a slight difference from the matinee show to this show. So fortunately, the Cap Center crowd did not get Boris Zhukov. We got stuck with him. But I don't know. Is Dino Bravo an upgrade? I don't know.
I was about to say, who would you rather see, Dino Bravo or Boris Zhukov?
Is it just a lose-lose? Who knows? But anyway, if the order is the way it is on Graham and Landy have on the site, This match was 5th in the afternoon.
And I'm guessing that it's, like I said, maybe Hogan was on the private jet to get up to Toronto early. That's probably what happened, is my guess.
Yeah, and I'm assuming he bolted right out of the Cap Center. He probably left before the show ended so he can get to here.
Sure. Yeah.
On time.
I mean, there's other guys on the show that are in Toronto as well, but we know that people, they probably had to drive overnight, is my guess. Hogan got to fly. Yep. All right, so anyway, that's our match here. Hulk Hogan versus Earthquake. Jimmy leads out Quake as Honky says, this is it tonight for Hogan. Big pop for Hulk as he slides in, but Quake and Jimmy stomp him down. Quake pounds away. Hogan staggered. Quake pounds the back, but whiffs on an elbow. Hogan tears his shirt off and unloads with a hot flurry with a big boot. Hogan shoots Quake to the corner, meets him with a clothesline, and hammers away in the corner before biting him. Jimmy pops up, but Hulk knocks him down. Hogan goes for a slam, but he can't, as Quake clubs the back and goes for the crab right near the ropes. But for some reason, Hogan takes a while, then just reaches over and easily grabs the bottom rope. It was odd that he laid there as long as he did right next to the ropes. Hogan reverses a whip, unleashes another flurry, then he tries a slam, but Quake falls on him for 2. Quake hooks a bear hug that holds for a while. Hogan breaks out, but Quake cuts him down the clothesline, hits a stiff falling power slam, and then poses, mocking Hogan. Quake cues up the splash, and he hits it, but Hogan blows out at 2, as usual in this feud. Bravo shows up at ringside as Hogan hulks up. Hogan hits a big boot, cleans out Jimmy and Dino as they hop up. Quake slides outside and pulls Hogan out, and they brawl. Hogan shoves Quake and Jimmy inside, but Bravo clobbers him from behind, and Hulk Hogan gets counted out, giving Earthquake the win. Hogan comes in and cleans house, and he finally slams Quake after the match. Bravo then decks Hogan from behind. They triple team him with a pretty aggressive attack until Tugboat sloshes out, and he makes the save with a chair. And now this is fun. I thought it was basically a trimmed-down version of SummerSlam, a lot of the same spots. And they're still keeping Quake strong here, so we're not done with this feud or his push. They're keeping things going. I would guess they're going to try and get this to Hogan. His next feud, for Mania, they're going to try and stretch this as long as they can and just bridge Hogan there. And they haven't really had the clean blow-off anyway with how Quake lost to SummerSlam, so he's still hanging in. Again, I thought this was a slightly abridged version of SummerSlam, so I took it down just a little bit. So my grade at SummerSlam for these two was I just want to confirm, for to say shit, was a 3.5, so I went 3 stars for this. Again, it was just kind of abridged, and Quake goes over, so it looks like we're going to see them again either here at the Garden or around the Horn. Scott, what'd you think?
This match was great. I gave that match. I gave the match at SummerSlam a 3. I gave this one a 3 too. Your time was I just lost it. Hold on. Your match time was 8.5, 8:33. This match was a lot of fun, and the crowd got back into it big time. There's no doubt, unlike some of our earlier feuds we were talking about, this feud still definitely had legs. Obviously, nothing was solved at SummerSlam. Hogan won the match, but he didn't pin him. And this was definitely a feud that was still red hot. Crowd was really into it. Hogan was still into it. I enjoyed it. It was a lot hard hitting. And I gotta say, and I'll say this often tonight, when I first saw who was at the commentator table when the show opened, I went, oh God. But I gotta be honest, they actually haven't been that bad. I know Mooney historically, and he's even said it on his own podcast that he's not, play-by-play is not his forte. I gotta be honest, he actually wasn't bad. He's been, he's kept with the moves. He's kept
I think
he's Honky in line.
Yeah, I think he's fine in this role. Like, could he have carried a major program or pay-per-view? I mean, I don't know, maybe. But I think for this setting where the commentary is kind of more laid back and conversational, I think he's actually perfect for it. He's always had a real conversational tone. And that's why I think, like we've talked about, Gorilla and Al were good in this setting. And I think it has a lot to do with just the more laid back pacing. And he's good at that. He's not going to be flying around as a hype man. He's perfect just in this kind of, easygoing conversation. And I think Honky's, I think he's actually all right as a heel commentator. He's kind of laid back too, and he's such a dick that it kind of works. Him and Jimmy together maybe is a little much, but I didn't mind Honky and Mooney solo here.
I enjoyed it. Honky actually wasn't bad, but you're right. I think Mooney kind of used his interview skills almost as commentary because we're in a setting that has time for things to breathe. He would not fit on a Saturday Night's Main Event or maybe a pay-per-view setting, maybe, but just because matches are usually longer on pay-per-views. But like a Saturday Night's Main Event where matches are quick and you need to be loud and not Mooney's forte. But yeah, in a setting where he can kind of sing-songy a little bit and use interview skills at the play-by-play table, works here. particularly with this match, because this is a top flight main event feud. So maybe not as boisterous a hype man as maybe a Gorilla would be. He definitely fit right now. And he's blatant, he's just like Gorilla as babyface, blatant about the hypocrisies of heels who say one thing, but the other thing happened and such. So it worked out well. But I thought the match was a lot of fun, Dave. Earthquake still has the goods, unlike Tugboat, who doesn't. This Hogan Earthquake feud has really saved the company for the year, really, and definitely got Hogan back out of maybe the doldrums of earlier in the year, pre-WrestleMania. So first off, your thoughts on the match, and secondly, your thoughts on how this feud has evolved throughout the year.
I really enjoyed this match right up till the end. I thought it like you said, it was very similar to the SummerSlam match. The crowd were right into it. Made it good when the crowd are into it. It helps carry the match as well, and the guys were working hard. I love watching Earthquake. I love his power slam. I love his big elbow. I think he's so good. I always struggle when he put the Boston Crab on in the right next to the ropes, like you said, JT and Hogan. All he had to do was reach out. But no, it was a really good match. The one thing I didn't like was just at the end there, Hogan's fought back. He's jumped up from, he's got up after the sit down, the Earthquake splash. He's on the outside, and Dino Bravo hit him with one little blow in the back, and Hogan couldn't get back in the ring. And I actually found that quite annoying. It just stood out so much. He's battled back. He's had this great match, and one little shot from Dino Bravo stops him from getting back in the ring. So I'm probably the low one on this one. I knocked a half a star off for the ending. I gave it 2.5. But no, I really enjoyed the match. I really liked, you were talking about the commentary. I really liked the commentary on this match. Honky talking about Jimmy Hart's game plan and really sort of giving that inside information. He's part of the team, and he knows where they're going and what they want to do. I thought it really added to the match. And I love that Sean Mooney he referred to Earthquake a couple of times as the walking natural disaster. I thought that would have been so awesome. And then, of course, they give it to the tag team name later on. But I thought that was a really cool sort of that extra nickname. I thought was really good. But no, and I agree with you that this has been really good. It's right up Hogan's alley. The big opponent, the guy who makes him look like he's been threatened and makes it look like, Hogan, the Hogan character always worked well because he was such the superhero. It always worked well when he had an opponent who looked like it could put him in jeopardy and looked like could match it with him. And I think that's what Earthquake brought to the ring and Earthquake brought to the feud. And I think that really helped Hogan really cement that standing over this back half of the year.
So you don't think with Dino Bravo's immaculate strength that little love tap wasn't the strongest man in the universe?
Oh yeah, the world's strongest man, but we've seen that tap on other blokes, and all it's done is go down to a knee and get back up. So
the one thing that always bugs me, it's funny as you mentioned that, but in all these matches, I feel like Hogan's lack of learned psychology in this feud has annoyed me a bit. It almost feels like Cena-ish, Cena would always kind of do the same thing and just laugh at it. Like every time these guys have fought, Hogan has tried to slam him early, it doesn't work. Slam again, I like to see it get mixed up a little bit. Like, maybe don't try that. Maybe go to look like you're going to try it and then hold off. I just feel like he's not showing any education from the previous matches. He just keeps trying to do this slam, even though it's not like a debilitating move. It's not like he's hitting a DDT or something. The slam isn't going to take Earthquake out. So it's just odd that he keeps going for it out of the gate. It's like a pride thing, but it's just an odd character tick for him.
But then you could use that with Earthquake as well. Why doesn't Earthquake give him a second Earthquake splash?
True.
Hogan
why does he
always
keep trying to
kicks
pin
out after one.
It's an odd. I guess they found a formula and stuck with it, but it's become oddly really formulaic with these guys. And to your point, on Earthquake's side as well. So the match, I guess the formula works. The matches have a pretty good baseline, but they have been very repetitive from what we've seen so far. And that includes that one, when they fought way back in April, Scott, that we saw at MSG.
Yep.
The finish has been different every time, but the template itself within the match has been repetitive. But I'll take a repetitive good baseline match than a repetitive shitty one like Sergeant Slaughter versus Nikolai Volkov.
Yes.
I really liked your hockey point too, Dave. It was one I meant to bring up, and I'm glad you did, about how he's on the team and he has got the insight and he keeps talking about it. I do like that aspect as well. Like he's not really rooting for Quake, but he's kind of explaining the psychology behind their plan as well.
And even during the 3-man attack at the end, Sean Mooney actually tells Honky Tonk, "You get up." He tells him specifically not to get up and get involved. So right. I thought that was a really good little snippet as well.
Yep, it's the little things of that era that don't carry on going years forward. So
that's true.
All right, let's hit the ring for our next match, and that is Shane Douglas taking on Haku. Could be a fun little match here, showcase possibly for Douglas, who's working his way up the ladder. Jimmy's back in the boot, throws threats at Hogan and Tugboat, celebrating their big count-out win. Shane's all fired up as he comes charging out. We start some grappling and trading off control. Sean puts over Shane's ring acumen and his quickness. Haku gets a couple of shots in, but Shane comes right back with a flurry, sends Haku bailing. We get some talk about where Bobby Heenan is tonight as Shane stays hot with a slam. Elbow drop for 2. Shane works the arm. Honky and Jimmy continue to shit-talk Hogan. Haku catches a charging Shane. It's a nice backbreaker. Haku batters the back, kicks Shane to the floor. Douglas comes back with a flash sunset flip, but Haku stays on top and batters him back down, goes to a trap hold. He hangs on to that for a bit. Douglas breaks free and drives Haku down with a bulldog, but he can't recover in time to make it count. Haku goes right in on the back again, but Douglas gets a hard Thez press, which was really neat. He gets 2 off of that. Gets a little flurry of offense, but Haku elbows him down. Haku shoots Shane to the corner, but he leaps on the middle rope and hits a blind crossbody for the win, which I was happy about. Like, it was cool to see. I thought this felt like Douglas had been picking up some wins, but they were going to knock him back down with an established veteran getting the victory. But no, Douglas gets a hard-fought win. It was an acceptable battle, basic work. Everything made sense. The selling was fine. It didn't overstay its welcome, and he climbs another rung. So he's starting to show promise as an up-and-coming babyface. We'll see if it goes anywhere, but he could be a good addition to the roster as a guy that can move, and he looks good while doing it. So I went 2.5 stars on this, Dave. I found it to be perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. Both guys worked well. They were crisp. I was absolutely flabbergasted that Haku put Shane over, and when that clean win came, I was expecting the kick out. I was expecting something, and I agree with you. I was expecting Haku to probably get the win, and I nearly fell off my chair when Shane Douglas got the clean win, and I was really, really impressed with it. I really enjoyed it. I felt the only thing that I felt bad about is I think the crowd were a little bit dead after the previous match, and I felt sorry for the boys because they worked so hard. They did draw the crowd back in at the end, but they worked so hard and so well. They should have had some better responses from the crowd, but I gave it 2.5 as well. I really enjoyed it. It's a shame. Shane Douglas looked great in this match, and I was looking at this going, look, it looks like they've got plans for him, and unfortunately, nothing ever came of it.
I'm guessing it had to be a bit because of the Hogan burnout probably from that previous match. So it's kind of a tough spot for these guys to be in, especially since, Shane's not like the most over guy just now. He's working his way up, and Haku doesn't have a ton of heat. So it's like 2 guys out there kind of in a death slot, even though it's only the 4th match.
That's what I assumed myself as well, that they were, this was everyone was going to the shitter or getting a beer. 7:48 your match time. I gave this 2 stars. It was okay. I think Shane Douglas was a good addition to the roster at the moment. We needed some fresh faces, kind of going in line, having the rockers here and that kind of young pretty boy thing. The girls like him, so something that can kind of a little variety for the roster. But I thought the match was okay. I really like this commentating trio for this night. I kind of like Mooney and Jimmy and Honky. That's a good combo. They're not wasting time. Like, they actually are taking, and you guys said it in the previous match, they're not just taking up space by cutting promos on themselves. They're actually participating and adding some value, as misguided as a good heel commentator can be. They're adding value to the matches more than I think we thought they would when I first saw the opening of the show. I went, oh, Jesus Christ, we're gonna have another superstar Billy Graham thing on our hands, and it turned out no, these guys have been really good. So I've really been impressed with the commentary, and they've kind of helped work Haku and kind of knocking Shane Douglas down, and Mooney's keeping him up. So overall, not a bad match. 2 stars for me. But yeah, the crowd kind of lost it. This was their take a leak or grab a beer or a hot dog match after the Hogan. Because the next match, they're going to have to boost their energy up again. So this was a good spot for people. So unfortunately for Shane and Haku, it was a crap spot. But fortunately for the crowd, it gave them a chance to kind of reboost the tank for our next match that we're about to talk about, which also carries a lot of heat with it.
And it's a big one, as Mr. Perfect takes on the Texas Tornado, trying to look to regain his Intercontinental title. The belt's still on Tornado here, at least on television. Perfect comes out as Roddy Piper comes out as a special guest referee. He gets a big pop. And I never understand, guys, why we get this varied version of his bagpipe music. This is like completely different than any other theme he's had. Do they lose the tape and they have to find a different one? It's odd that I feel like every now and then they pop out this random song for him.
It's cheap sounding too. It sounds like it's like I don't know. It sounds like it was on a turntable. It sounded really, really weak, but I didn't like it. I missed I mean, obviously they weren't going to use the cool like 85 Piper because that's like the heel pipes, but I'd still use it. But they did sound kind of weak.
Maybe they lost the tape on the way up from the matinee show. It got lost in transit.
It's odd. This is a random bagpipe music. So anyway, he's out. Jimmy Hart says Piper's confused. Is he an actor, wrestler, referee? Tonight he is a ref. Mr. Perfect stoic. He stomps out solo tonight. No Bobby, as we mentioned earlier. Good welcome for Tornado as well. He hits the ring. Piper grabs the belt and forces each man to his corner, as he's clearly going to be very aggressive in this role as ref. We get going. Tornado shows off his power, shoving Perfect across the ring. Tornado grabs hold of the arm and works that as Piper's really amped up here, playing up the referee role. Perfect breaks free with a chop. Tornado mows him down with a spinning punch to the gut. That knocks Perfect outside. Tornado keeps bringing the offense until he whiffs on a charge and slams shoulder first to the post. Perfect yanks off the turnbuckle pad, but Piper won't let him use it as he tries to put it back on. Perfect says fuck it, and he just throws Tornado hard. But Tornado reverses, Piper moves, and Perfect slams into the exposed metal and then eats a discus punch, which was a great near fall. Tornado goes to a Boston Crab, but Perfect forces the rope break as Honky says Perfect needs his belt back, and he's going to do it here tonight. Tornado eats a hard boot on a charge, collapses back. Perfect drop kicks Tornado to the floor, but Piper keeps him at bay as Tornado returns. Perfect grabs a sleeper, then keeps putting the pressure on, hitting a tight knee lift to the chest, getting 2 on a small package. Mooney talks up Piper's ref job as Honky and Jimmy shit all over it. Tornado comes back with some strikes. He throws Perfect into Piper by accident and hits a discus. Piper just pops right up, doesn't sell it at all. Counts, but he only gets 2. Piper's hurting now as Perfect comes slugging back. Tornado hits another discus punch and then hooks the claw hold, shoves him to the mat with it, but Perfect forces the rope break. Perfect comes back with a knee lift, hits a slam. Tries a slam, I should say, but his back tightens up and he can't finish it. That was great selling. Perfect tries a hard chop to the chest for 2, and then we get a back suplex into a bridge by Perfect. Piper counts as both men's shoulders are down, and we get the 3. Perfect grabs the belt as Piper talks to the Fink, and Fink reveals that Texas Tornado actually won the match and has retained. Honky and Jimmy are not happy. The crowd is pumped. Piper and Perfect get into each other's faces, and Perfect decks both men with the belt and beats on them until the referees break things up. And it was a super wild post-match, that whole fight. You never really see Perfect go unhinged. Like, he just lost it and beat the shit out of both of them. Obsessed with his gold, Rex House. And I thought this was a fun match. It had good fire, had good spunk, ebb and flow. Perfect selling was awesome in this match. And Tornado was on point with his offense. I enjoyed him. Piper was a good addition, too. He wasn't overbearing as ref. He kind of let the match play out. And this is fun. Scott, we talked with Peter before saying, like, what's Tornado's longest match, his best long match. This is probably in contention. I went 3 stars. I dug it. I don't have the time in front of me. Sure you do. It had to be at least over 10, I would think. 11:38. So, yeah, there you go. So it was over 10. This was good showing for him. I thought he looked good. I enjoyed the whole package here for this. And I loved Perfect just losing his fucking mind after the match.
I was about to just bring that up, actually, right out of the gate about you, Winston, and I talking about Tornado and, keeping himself, keeping his matches tight. Well, as you said, your match time 11:38, which I believe is the longest match of the evening. I think we'll monitor that as we continue on, but I'm pretty sure this is the longest match of the night. This match is a ton of fun. I loved it. It may be my candidate, even though I gave it 3 stars, same length as Hogan Earthquake. This may be in my running for match of the night. I really had fun with this one. Piper is ref, which kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't even know that happened. I didn't look at the notes till I wasn't looking at the matches till we watched it. Until I watched it, and I'm like, oh shit, Piper? Where the fuck is this coming from? It's like out of nowhere. Added to something. I don't know what it is tonight, but the Garden crowd got their money's worth in terms of star power. Fucking everybody is in the building tonight, except for two people, which we'll talk about in a minute, which we've already mentioned because they're on the other loop. But I mean, the building's loaded tonight, and it continues when we go after the break. The star power in the show is amazing tonight. But this match is a lot of fun. Perfect is always great. I think we can pretty much establish that. But Tornado definitely got off the. He was probably told to lay off the sauce tonight because he was actually. He seemed like he was into it and he was motivated. He might be also in the most juiced because he was looking pretty buff tonight. It was just amazing. It was really fun. Perfect looked so out of sorts after the match. I'm gonna have a lot of award candidates tonight from this match because I think my favorite moment might be Perfect just snapping the fuck out and just smacking everyone with the belt. Very unperfect like. I loved it. I really did. I feel like they took advantage of the lack of Bobby to make Perfect seem unhinged.
Yeah, like he was losing. There to help control him.
Yeah, I loved it. It was awesome. Very unperfect like. Just such a nice variety. Again, and I say this very often, JR, through our journey here since '85. The MSG house shows, the shows that you don't always remember, sometimes have some hidden moments that you don't think about. But man, I was loving this. The match was good. I love Piper as the ref, adds a little star power. You have the whole work with the turnbuckle pad. I had a blast this, Dave, up and down. Perfect looked great. Tornado looked surprisingly good. Piper was a solid ref. The crowd got hot again. I heard horns go off and everything. I mean, it was pretty good, top to bottom, really good.
I love this match. This match was fantastic. I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was brilliant. Piper's refereeing. I loved at the beginning before the match even started, and you didn't mention it before. Piper does the checking for the foreign objects and basically feels up Mr. Perfect, and Perfect's reaction is just brilliant. It just
yes, that's right.
It was just totally awesome.
That was good. I forgot
and at that point, I was like, "This has been the best moment so far." But no, it was really good. I loved Piper when he's a referee. He's consistent. He counts quickly, both his pinfalls and his out of the ring counts. He's quite quick, but he's consistent. So Jimmy and Honky picked up they were having a bit of a shot at him for the quick counts, which gave the heel that credibility to the heel commentary in that they're not just anti-Piper. They actually had a little bit of a foundation of, well, the counts were a little quick. But I actually felt that almost forced Piper and Tornado to keep the action, just kept going because they never had any downtime, and that was fantastic. I enjoyed the way that Tornado just kept going for the Tornado punch and discus punch, hit it a couple of times, and when they had the collision, but with Piper, we didn't have to put up with the referee overselling the collision. Piper sold it the way a wrestler would sell a collision. He got up quite quickly rather than down. And I always hate it when special guest referees who are wrestlers sell like a referee. It just sort of takes you out, but it was good. No, I really enjoyed it. No slow spots. The double pin at the end, typical result. It was fantastic. I love the post-match and Perfect there, Perfect. The fighting in the ring, and there's this. My favourite spot of that post match was Perfect was finally out of the ring, and Piper sort of lunged for him as half leaning out. The referees are trying to hold him back, and Perfect just nailed him, absolutely nailed him, and it was totally enjoyable. It really just stood out as a highlight throughout the whole show.
Agreed. It was really well done. The Piper was a good addition. And I really, really love that post-match. I love seeing Perfect just lose his mind and freak out. It shows you how much the belt means to him, how angry he was. And, again, you just don't ever really see him go to those lengths. All right, we're halfway through the show. Why don't we go ahead and take a very quick break. We'll be back in mere seconds. We'll talk about the back end of the show. We'll do some awards. We'll get some pop culture, and we'll send things home. We'll be back in a moment.
Quick moment.
Who the hell is CRZ? It's me, Christopher Robin Zimmerman. This is the Place to Be Nation podcast.
We're back looking at the November 1990 Madison Square Garden house show. Before we continue on there, though, I'm going to tell you what's going on in the world of PlaceToBeNation.com and this PlayStation Wrestling feed you're listening to right now. Available on all of your podcatcher apps. On the second GWCW Pod Blast, Drew Wardlaw, host Ryan Everett, and you, Scott, discuss the legacy of the Dangerous Alliance. Now, is that the podcast or the faction?
The both.
Okay, so you covered the podcast
because
legacy.
Your pods should be in the countdown. So
very good. On Jay and the Gems number 9, the band stops in Las Vegas for the UWF Blackjack Brawl. I heard that's quite the romp.
It was, believe me.
Newest episode of Highway to the Impact Zone. Logan and the gang recap the debut episode of TNA. Jesus, TNA Impact, as well as weekly pay-per-view number 98. Newest With This Ring, Ryan and Cindy put a bow on their GWWE list by looking at their final 6 matches. On the most what the fuck? I'm having a tough time tonight. On the most recent episode of Body Press Your Luck, defending champ Ryan Everett battles Jimmy Groomberg and Mike Poulin to a tight finish. That is a iconic episode of Body Press Your Luck, the best to date. So be sure to check that one out if you haven't heard it yet. Jake, Tim, and Jenny break down 3 episodes of NXT television from the spring of 2014 on the newest PTB NXT. And on the newest Saturday special, Scott, you and Dr. G discuss their third face of your NWA Mount Rushmore, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Also, check out the PlayStation Pop feed. Great shows including The Year in Pop, Laugh in Theater, Great Debate, Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular, Diamond Conversations Was a Thing on TV, and A Piece of the Action, as well as Blockbuster Rewind and so much more. Subscribe today, and while you're there, subscribe to these feeds as well. Jennifer Smith's Jenny Position, home of Geek and Sassy, Talking Pop, Freak Out Drive-In, the Brother Sister Rewatch Podcast, The Journey Through Infinity, and so much more, including, have you heard about Pluto? Most recent episode of that, Josh, Richard, and myself joined Jenny to watch an episode, the pilot episode of American Gladiators, and talk some 90s nostalgia. So that was a fun listen. If you haven't heard it yet, just subscribe to the Jenny Position, and you can check it out. And finally, on my feed, it's me, Chuck Hamlin, Aaron George, running things to the North-South Connection Podcast Network, the home of Wrestling Warzone, No Holds Barred, Extreme 3-Way Dance, Jeff Learns Wrestling, Ruthlessly Aggressive Podcast, TNA Never Dies, and much more. We'll talk more about that in a bit. What's going on there over the past week and upcoming as well, and talking about things that are upcoming. The 2020 Stretch Project, greatest WCW match ever, is underway. We have until New Year's Eve to do your research, promote your matches, build your list. Conversation and rules found at facebook.com/GWCW matches or the Pro Wrestling Only message board. On our social media pages, the Greatest Junk Food Tournament has ended as Doritos Nacho Cheese has won, and the newest tournament will be getting underway very soon. It is the greatest song to be featured in a movie. So a lot of cool selections there. The brackets have been posted. The first polls will be out soon, so keep an eye out on the PTBN Tournaments Facebook page. PlayStation.com each and every day. New voices, fresh takes, articles on topics in the worlds of wrestling, sports, pop culture, including Trent's SmackDown and Fox Report. This week in WWE by John Crow, Paulie's Perspective, Ben's Unpopular Opinion, Matt's Disney live-action journey, and veteran columns like Glenn Butler's Wednesday Walk Around the Web. And if you're doing some online shopping over at Amazon, be sure to click on the Amazon banner on the right-hand side of the PlayStation Nation homepage or PlayStation.com/Amazon to do some shopping. No additional cost to you. Helps us out, keeps us going, and we would appreciate it. Scott, we've had a lot of number one songs, the same countdown, pretty much over the last week. We've had some Mariah, we've had some Alias, we've had some D-Light. Why don't you tell me tonight what else is on this countdown?
Well, on this week's...
because it's time for Scott Crisco's Pop Culture Corner.
Exactly. You need a break. You were getting wax nostalgic about the Dangerous Alliance. Love Takes Time, Mariah Carey, still number one as we have a new countdown because it came out today, November 24th, 1990, because Mariah kicks ass and takes names. She's number one. More Than Words Can Say by Alias at number 2, so not much changing in the span of a week. I'm Your Baby Tonight by Whitney Houston at number 3. D-Light, Groove Is in the Heart, as we mentioned, has been on the chart as well at number 4. Because I Love You by Stevie B, the Postman song, which I didn't know that was a secondary name. At number 5, Something to Believe In by Poison at number 6, From a Distance. Bette Midler. Dave, you are enjoying it from a distance. A long distance.
Quite a while. Quite a long distance.
Yeah. Pray by MC Hammer. We pray no more COVID. Number 9, Feels Good by Tony. And at number 10, Knockin' Boots by Candyman. And just outside of the top 10, Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla
Ice. A lot of
Ice
hits. MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice. Some big stars here in the 1990s.
Big stars.
Stretch.
What do we get to? I'm looking forward when we get to 91. We're going to get some juicy countdowns in 91, I think.
Some Ninja Rap.
Ninja Rap. Go Ninja. Go Ninja.
You know, I forgot to mention this last episode, Scott, and again, going into break, it is, of course, summer here. And when it's summer, you know what that means, Place to Be Podcast. It's the summer of Yacht Rock. So
Yes.
Last episode, we kicked off our Yacht Rock music going into break. And I think there's one song that was fitting tonight. You heard it as we went in. Of course, we should just mention really quickly the passing of Yacht Rock legend Benny Mardones, singer of Into the Night. A song featured very heavily on Yacht Rock Radio on Sirius since its inception in 2016-ish.
Pretty much.
It's an interesting song. It has some controversy around it, obviously. But he's been sick for a while. He actually had Parkinson's. And then I know he was like in a nursing home over the last year and a half. I began following his Facebook page once we discovered the song a few years ago, or at least fell in love with the song. He had some falls, dislocated his hip, shattered his pelvis. So really was battling a lot of issues. And they had a GoFundMe going on for his medical costs. And then I know there was issues around COVID, being in the nursing home. So he had a really rough last few years. But as is, I just wanted to pay a little respect to Benny. And, of course, he did hear Into the Night going into break earlier. I meant to mention that going into break. So rest in peace, Benny.
Yes, rest in peace, Benny. Usually, JR, we usually save Benny for the end of the summer. Usually,
Yes.
Benny's the last Yacht Rock song we play, but we felt fitting to play it tonight. We're losing all of our Yacht Rock guys. Last year, Marty died. Marty Balin for our other great Yacht Rock song.
So here's a quick fun fact.
If Christopher Cross dies, I lose all faith in humanity.
Yeah,
That's
sailing
it.
forever.
Sailing forever.
Here's a little quick fun fact and Into the Night. One of the few songs that charted on Billboard in 1980 and again in 1989. So across decade. 1989, KZZP, a radio station in Arizona, ran a segment entitled Where Are They Now? The most popular question was, whatever happened to that guy that sang Into the Night? Scott Shannon, of course, good old friend, Todd Pettengill, the program director of Pirate Radio in Los Angeles, added Into the Night to its playlist. Radio stations across the country followed suit, and it became a hit yet again. Mardones was 33 years old when the song became a hit for the first time, and for some time he lived quite well on those royalties as a hit again. So there you go. Good old Benny Mardones.
Good old Benny. Rest in peace. Let's take a look at the movies that came out for this weekend. At number 9, Jacob's Ladder, that horror movie with Tim Robbins. Number 8, Child's Play 2. Number 7, Ghost. Number 6, The Rescuers Down Under. Number 5, Rocky 5, fitting. Number 4, Predator 2. Number 3, Dances with Wolves. Number 2, Three Men and a Little Lady. And number 1, still number 1, as it is going into the holiday season, Home Alone. So that's all the big movies going on this Thanksgiving weekend around the country. We go from the concert stage to the theater to take the field.
All right, let's see if the shit show can get any better here as things have fallen off a cliff. As always, I've not done... Oh, I did actually do the math. Look at that. I set myself up for success. I am down by 6 at this moment, 49-43. Had a rough week against D'Amato as usual 2 episodes ago. Lost to Peter by 1 last week. I haven't had a winning week since week 3 when I beat up Kevin Patak. So I could use a little comeback here. Scott was a little weary. He thought, Dave, being in Australia, maybe, should we even do this? But it sounds like you were actually watching football in 1990, so you're probably going to kick the shit out of me here tonight.
Well, I don't know about that, but 1989-90 is when I first started. I love American football, NFL. I've been watching it pretty well since. I remember the 88 Super Bowl was the first one I saw. First one I saw, and then pretty well watching weekly down here. They used to, down here in Australia, they used to do like a 1 hour 1.5 hour highlights show. So we get like extended highlights of one match and then short highlights. And then about 7 or 8 years after that, we started getting a full match each week. And now these days we can see 5 matches on television through cable and free to air. And then, of course, you get the NFL Network and watch every other game. So I've been following for a long time. I'm interested to see what I can remember.
All right. Well, it is we will do week 14.
I gotta get Stacy back on. I bet she didn't watch any NFL football on this time. Maybe I'll win a week.
Funny as Dave's explaining, I'm like, Stacy would know none of this. But anyway, it is week 14 we'll do of the 1990 NFL season. So the week of Sunday, December 9th. So we're moving a few weeks ahead because we've tried to burn as many weeks as possible. Considering we haven't left this week of November in, a month. All right, so we'll begin at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, where the Colts host the Buffalo Bills, JR.
The Colts host the Bills. I'll take Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo.
The K-Gun, comfortably. Bills 31, Colts 7. In a rematch of the Super Bowl, Dave, I think you just might have been referencing, we go to Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. The Bengals hosting the defending world champion, San Francisco 49ers, Dave.
Oh, look, my team all the way, San Francisco.
I'll take Dave's boys.
Yes. Joe Cool throws for 185. The game goes to overtime, but the 49ers win it 20-17. Let's go out to the Mr. Campbell's stomping grounds, Fulton County Stadium in Hotlanta, the Falcons and the Phoenix Cardinals, JR.
I will take Chad's boys.
Atlanta were never any good at this time period, so I'll take the Phoenix.
Tim Rosenbaugh throws for 227. Cardinals win 24.
Hey.
Never trust Chad Campbell's stuff. Let's go to Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh. The Steelers hosting the New England Patriots, Dave.
Pittsburgh.
Peter Winston told me the Patriots only won one game this year. I'm going to guess this was not it, so I'll go with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You would be correct. Steelers win easily, 24-3. Let's go to the Astrodome in Houston. The Oilers hosting the Cleveland Browns, JR.
I will take Houston.
Yeah, you never tip Cleveland, so I'll take Houston as well.
Warren Moon threw for 190 yards, but I don't know. He must have thrown for a ton of touchdowns. Oilers win 58-14.
Wow.
Scott, how many more weeks do we have of this that we're probably going to do, by the way?
Our next episode, we will have, I believe it'll be the last week of the regular season.
All right.
So
I got to start taking some shots here. I'm down 6.
So.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Giant Stadium in the Meadowlands, where the New York Football Giants host the Minnesota Vikings, Dave.
Giants.
Fuck you, Dave. All right, I'll take the Giants.
Giants win 23-15. Let's go to Lambeau Field in Green Bay, the Packers and the Seattle Seahawks. JR.
I'll take Seattle on the road.
Dave?
I'd take Green Bay at home.
Well, Blair Keel was quarterback. I think it's Blair. Is it Blair Keel?
Who fucking cares? Who won?
Is that old? Yeah, it was Blair Keel. Threw for 198, but the Seahawks win.
Yeah.
Let's go to RFK Stadium in our nation's capital, where the Washington Football Club, because they have that last name, take on the Chicago Bears. Dave.
Oh, gee. I will take. I don't know. Oh, Chicago, good. Washington. Washington at home.
I feel like Washington's on the come up, but the Bears may be on the come down a bit. They're kind of crossing paths here. I want to say Washington, but I need points. I'm going to take the Bears.
It was a snore fest. Redskins 10, Bears 9.
Ugh.
Snore fest. Let's go out to Anaheim for the Rams and the New Orleans Saints. JR.
Rams.
Rams. The Saints are as bad as Atlanta.
Jim Everett threw for 365 yards, but the Saints win 24-20. Let's go to Arrowhead. The Chiefs host the Denver Broncos, Dave.
Chiefs at home.
Denver. I don't want to do it, but
John Elway threw for 328 yards, but the Chiefs win 31-20. Let's go down to the Orange Bowl in Miami, the Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles, JR.
Dolphins.
Yeah, Dan Marino at home.
He throws for 365. Game goes to overtime. Dolphins win 23-20. And finally, Monday night at the Silverdome in Pontiac, the Lions and the Los Angeles Raiders. Dave.
I can never ever pick the form of the Raiders. I always try to pick along with you guys when I'm listening each week. I'm going to take Detroit at home.
I'll take the Raiders.
It's the Jay Schrader game. He throws for 195. Barry Sanders does rush for 176, but the Raiders win 38-30.
They did me again.
So I lost by 1, but I really won by 1 because I punted those 2 I would have picked. So there you go. Anyway, so the new total is 58 against and 51 from me. So I'm down 7 going to our final episode, final week of the season, which has not been a good one for me, 1990 and 91. I've had some decent years in the 80s, but this has been a tough one for me.
It has been tough. It's been a tough year. A lot of teams
our guest is. Yeah, I'm not going to win. Our guest is strong. Our next guest, so I got no shot.
We'll see. We'll see.
No, it's over.
All right. Let's go to the NBA on that day. There were a lot of games. NBA guy, Dave? Like some hoops? No?
Yes. Not so much. Not as much as the NFL. I mean, at this time, down here in Australia, again, NBA wasn't shown a lot. Really all we got was the Bulls. Jordan and the Bulls, and around this time, I'm not sure if Luke Longley was playing for them yet, and that was always the big. That was always the big draw, sort of Luke Longley joining the Bulls, but Jordan was so big down, everywhere that really the only thing you ever saw about NBA down here was a Bulls game.
Yeah. You do have an awesome Australian League player right now, though, Dave, who's been Player of the Year in Australia multiple times. It's Bryce Cotton from Providence College.
That's right. Yes, BC. That's right.
No, there's a few good Aussies over in the NBA at the moment.
No, he's in Australia, Bryce Cotton.
Oh yes, playing down here. Yes, so yeah. Sorry, I'm with you now. Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of Michael Jordan, he had 38 on this night. The Bulls won a shootout in Denver, 151-145. The Celtics won in Cleveland, 113-102. Lakers won at home over Orlando, 115-89 for our teams. Oh, and JR, your Charlotte Hornets with a win on this night. Former Knick Johnny Newman had 30. Hornets beat the Heat, 125.
We're going to have to start picking NBA games to get me back off the schneid.
They're picking the Hornets. Celtics are 10-2 out of the gate in the Atlantic. Pistons are 9-2, defending world champs. Spurs are 7-2 in the Midwest, and Portland's still 10-0. And finally in sports, the NHL, there were games on this night. That Bruins-Whalers game we talked about, JR, on the last show with Peter, was actually a home and home, because on the next night, they played at the Civic Center, and the Bruins got them back with a 4-3 win. So that's all we'll talk about there. We have a birth and a death. We usually don't have both of them, but we have a birth. I don't know if you guys know this actress. She's been in a decent amount of stuff. JR, you watch Modern Family, right? Were you a Modern Family fan or no?
Yeah, I've been out of the loop for the last 5 years or so, but I did for a while.
Well, the actress that played Haley Dunphy, Sarah Hyland, she was born in the state. She was 29 years old. She was born in the state. She's also been in Charming, Geek Charming, Struck by Lightning, Scary Movie 5, See You in Valhalla, the new Dirty Dancing, some other stuff. So her birthday, she was born on this day. And finally, I know this is silly, but it really isn't. There is a death to mention. Not really the person per se, but what she wrote. An author, English author, named Dodie Smith died on this date. She was 94 years old. She died on November 24th, 1990. She was British, but her career is not really what I wanted to bring up. It's one book she particularly wrote, a book that would end up being one of the most famous Disney movies of all time. She wrote the book in 1956. The book was called
Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Great guess, because Angela Lansbury was in that, and she's British. No, 101 Dalmatians.
Oh.
And that became obviously one of the most well-known Disney. It was made into a animated film in 1961, and of course a live-action film in 1996.
And then The Devil Wears Prada, because it's the same character pretty much, right?
Yes, it was transferred from Glenn Close to your girl Meryl Streep. So, All right, so there we go. That is your Pop Culture Corner. Back to the garden we go.
Back we do go. Lord Al is backstage with Earthquake, Jimmy Hart, and Dino Bravo. Al says Hogan clearly wants a tag rematch. Okay. Quake says any win over Hogan isn't shallow. If he wants a tag match, come and get it. They're waiting. Bravo said it's so obvious that Quake will lay out Hogan for good. It's their mission. They'll take out Tugboat too, and they'll leave Hogan alone against both men, and he stands no chance. Lord Al's in with Hulk Hogan and Tugboat. Hogan says he's never ran wilder in MSG than he did tonight, and he's a survivor. They're playing by Quake's rules, and that means there are none. They want both dudes in the ring at the same time. They know what it feels like to have Quake snap their ribs. Tugboat is Hogan's biggest insurance policy, and if they get them in MSG, Tugboat will turn into the USS Missouri. Tugboat says he's ready for battle. We get more nautical and pirate puns, as we have all along with these guys, and they're fired up. Al's doing Mr. Perfect. He shits on Piper's officiating, says he stinks on the mic, in the ring, and as a ref. Perfect challenges him to a match. Piper has a lot to prove. He took advantage of Perfect, but it's a big mistake. If Piper thinks he's rowdy as he used to be, Perfect will give him asked to give him a shot. Good fire promo there. And then Al's with Piper, who's ranting and fired up. He says he's never been perfect, and he rambles like only he can. I couldn't keep up. He wants perfect for Christmas right here in the Big Apple. He shows off his abs, and he's really slimmed down. He's like wicked cut, and a great classic Piper here. So what'd you guys think? Any comments on these promos to set up our next show?
Perfect. Well, that's the thing. I mean, Perfect was so good. One of the things I noted earlier was, why would they do the ending that they did with Perfect and Piper? And I was sort of thinking, they never did anything on pay-per-view. Were they building to something? And obviously they were building to something for next month. But Perfect was just phenomenal. Piper was all over the place, but it's what you'd expect from the other boys.
Yep.
All the promos were solid.
Yeah, and that'll be the big Christmas show. They always try and do something special for that Christmas episode.
Yeah.
So we'll get Piper versus Perfect. Piper in the ring in MSG for Christmas. So that's cool. All right, we go back to the ringside where Sean Mooney, Honky, and Jimmy Hart fill some time before we get to our next match, and that is Ted DiBiase teaming with his bodyguard Virgil against the Rhodes family, Dusty and Dustin. A big match here, and that's a pretty loaded card. Kind of low key. Feud is rolling hot. Ted has drafted Virgil back into action. Big pop for Dusty and Dustin as they charge out looking for revenge. The Rhodes boys hits the ring, clean house, wasting no time at all. DiBiase and Virgil reset as Honky says Dustin must be scared to death. They mock what happened in Sunday's main event with them. Dustin and Virgil start up as Virgil shoves him around until Dustin shoves him back. Mooney reminds us that Dustin lasted 10 minutes with Ted recently on Superstars. Dustin slugs away. We end up with a botched spot where Virgil sends himself backwards over the ropes without getting punched, and the announcers kind of cover for it. Honky says Dustin is throwing razzmatazz at Virgil. Virgil returns and Dustin unloads with a pair of drop kicks, sends him right back outside. Ted comes in now and gets to work with strikes and a nice suplex. He shit talks Dusty as he keeps in control, but then ducks his head and Dustin spikes him to the mat. He slugs away. Ted stooges around between both Rhodes before Dustin knocks him to the floor. Dusty gets a tag. He throws Ted back in. The crowd is heated up. Dusty lays in his elbows and punches, but he gets tangled with Virgil. That allows Ted to knee him in the back. And they really made Dusty look kind of stupid in this feud throughout. He's always turning around and getting hit from behind and knocked out. Dustin batters him, but Ted gives an assist and chokes Dustin out. Dusty makes a save. He beats down Ted on the floor as Virgil stomps away at Dustin inside. Honky tries to get out of the way as he ends up in a shoving match with Dusty. Dusty's tied up there with Honky, so Dustin hits a bulldog on Virgil, but in comes Ted and hits a beautiful power slam, puts Virgil on top for the win. That was a super hot match with some fun stuff, but again, the Rhodes boys looks like dipshits. You got like Honky randomly shoved in the feud. He's tangling with Dusty outside, and Dusty gets one pulled over on him. I thought there had to be better ways to go about this. But again, I get why they're trying to make Ted strong here, knowing likely that the Rhodes aren't long for this run. Dustin looked good again, though. The crowd is into him. He's looked sharp every time we've seen him. Things were cooking until that kind of random finish with Honky getting in the way. I just would have had, I don't know how else he could have done it, but maybe DiBiase lays out Dusty on the floor and then comes back in. 2.5 day for this one.
Yeah, I thought Dustin looked really good in the ring. I felt sorry for him because Virgil mucked a couple of spots and he looked bad. Bad. He didn't go over initially over the ropes on the clothesline, and then sort of Dustin lines up to send him and this time he just jumped out. So it looked really bad, and I felt sorry for Dustin. And I agree. I didn't get why they wanted to they backed Dusty into Honky and why they do the shoving match. I thought to myself, are they building to a Honky Dusty match in the future? But we know that Dusty's on his way out, and this is sort of the last run. So it didn't make any sense. I end up giving it 2. I thought DiBiase looked good when he was in the ring, and wasn't too offensive. It was quick, but Virgil just the missed spots from Virgil were just so obvious. I didn't know whether it was outright ring rust or whether it was he was having an off night, but it did not look good.
I don't know. Maybe it was just the energy level. I really like this match. I gave it 3 stars. I actually thought it was a lot of fun. 8:51 your match time. You can slowly see the Virgil split happening because DiBiase yelling at him more than usual. So I think you're slowly starting to see something going on there. The commentary was really good. I truly didn't get why Dusty was fucking around with Honky. That I didn't really get that. I mean, I don't know. Were they reigniting their feud from a year before or 2 years? But I don't know. It just, I don't know. I didn't get it. It made no sense to me. But I thought the match was a lot of fun. Crowd was really hot again. And again, just another match loaded with star power. I mean, like everybody is here at the Garden tonight. I don't know. Again, I feel like they're treating this almost like a Christmas special. It is, Thanksgiving weekend. So, a lot of people are probably in town for the holidays. And so I think they really, loaded up, for a reason, because I mean everybody's in this building right now. But I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. They did kind of make. I will say the booking is a little ass backwards because you would think that they would have. You think that they would have made Dusty look a little bit better. I mean, I understand trying to protect your son, but not this much. But still, I really thought the match was really good. I thought it was, again, the crowd was hot. Virgil's inexperience showed, which I think is part of the storyline. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I like seeing the Rhodes family together and everybody, stay and watch the Rhodes family, which I think they should have done. So, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. 3 stars for me. I'm probably overgrading it a little bit, but I was very entertained.
No, it was fine. The crowd was into it. I agree with Dave. Virgil was very off. And, that's part of things, right? DiBiase is always going to pick up the slack for that unit. But clearly DiBiase is trying to wear a little bit with Virgil at times, so you could see it in his face. The power slam was great to end it. It just sucks to continuously see the Rhodes really get fucked over. Like Dave, since SummerSlam, DiBiase has fucked with Dusty, and Dusty has really not gotten much on him. I'm sure maybe on TV. I guess Dustin did last at 10 with Ted in the challenge match, but Saturday's main event, they got their asses kicked. Survivor Series, Dusty got made to look kind of goofy, and now here. So it's just kind of been all DiBiase in this feud so far, making Dusty look like a goof. All right, Honky gets in the ring after his dust up with Dusty, and he fires up his song, and he sings it in full. So we're trying to obviously kill some time. And Jimmy hypes up Honky's new upcoming Christmas album. So we'll see how that goes. All right, next matchup tonight is that feud we talked about earlier as Jim Duggan takes on Sergeant Slaughter. Lots of heat on Sarge. He storms out with Adnan, the Iraqi flag, which Honky calls sacred. Fink makes an announcement that Sarge handed him, and he lets us know today's Veterans Day in Iraq, and that Sergeant Adnan requests the fans give 10 seconds of silence to honor the soldiers that died in the Kuwait invasion. Iffy idea, but great heat nonetheless. After that fiasco, out comes Duggan to a massive pop, so I guess Sarge did his job there. Good progression as Sarge, again, moved up from Nikolai, now goes after Duggan. Mooney talks about Duggan saving Tito from an attack on Superstars, so he mentions what happened earlier today. Duggan gets distracted by Adnan at the bell, but he catches Sarge before he can jump him. We start off properly. They trade some blows back and forth, with neither man making much of a dent. Duggan catches Sarge with a boot, slugs him out of the ring, as Sarge gets trapped under the bottom rope by his chin. That was a funny spot. Duggan stomps Sarge's hand on the apron, works him over when he comes in. Sarge eventually catches him with a knee lift. Sarge works over his basic strikes, smothering Duggan and leaning heavily on him. Honky sarcastically says Duggan's doing the USA proud. Duggan comes back with a flurry, but whiffs on a shoulder to the corner and eats a clothesline. Sarge goes to a rear chin lock. Duggan comes back, but Sarge cuts it off by going to the eyes, drops a knee for 2. Sarge hits a slow-motion backbreaker as the crowd is trying to stay with us. Sarge heads up top but misses a knee drop. Duggan rallies from there with punches and a back body drop. Sets up for the tackle, but Adnan, of course, reaches in and trips him. Duggan jaws with him. They get twisted up, and that allows Adnan to smash him with the flagpole, and Sarge hits a clothesline for the win. Duggan grabs a 2x4 after the match and cleans house, and I will say this was boring and plotting. Never got going. It was just aimless strikes into an awkward finish. Duggan really couldn't even get the crowd going. It was just kind of flat for this one, which is disappointing after the good heat to start. So that's that. It was blah. Sarge's character's good, but he's really struggling in the ring with all this. So we haven't seen him really step it up just yet. Again, he hasn't been given great, I think on TV he's fought Coco, he's fought Nikolai a bunch. I guess he had Tito, which was pretty good, but again, we're not really seeing him piece it together. So Scott, I went 1.5 stars on this, and I found it to be kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I gave it a star. I did not like it at all. 9-10.
I got my 2x4.
Oh, that was it. I was expecting something else.
I got the American flag.
Sorry, Dave. Vince must not like Australians because he's not showing up. So.
It's a different song. God, this how out of practice you are with the Duggan thing. Vince uses the.
No, I was just expecting. I was expecting a little.
That's not Vince's theme. No, I figured Dave's here. We're gonna go back to the old school and do the Duggan music.
That's right. Of course. No, I know. I thought maybe Vince would make an appearance. Maybe he doesn't like Australians. Who knows? No, this match. You know what it is with Duggan? Now, even the song doesn't help tonight. Like I've said, I just forget that last part. The whole part about beat people up. Because this card is so loaded, Duggan's like 12th on the totem pole tonight. So he's like nothing special tonight because there's so many power brokers in this crowd tonight, or on the roster, on the card. And you're right, Slaughter just seems off, which is weird because he had some pretty decent feuds and matches in his AWA stint. This is rough. I don't know why. The crowd's flat. Maybe because they were pumped up about the tag match before. Maybe it's an overload of star power and they're getting kind of gassed. I'm not sure, but 9-10 your match time, but it seemed very long and very slow. Did not like it at all. And I'm totally confused as to why Slaughter is struggling in the ring. I thought he'd be a little bit more fluid and kind of get his legs together, but I was surprised he actually won the match clean, to be honest with you. I thought he was. I thought there'd be some kind of schmaz here, but there wasn't. Duggan gets his heat back. Not that anybody cares, but I don't know, Dave. Something was missing in this match. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it was. I've got to say, I remember back in the day, I posted this once up on Facebook, but there's a local radio station over here that their introduction to their hourly news broadcast, it sounds like the start of that song. And I remember sitting in the car one day and it came on and I started saying there, I got my 2x4 and my wife looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, you're a fan of PTB, and when you start hearing the Hacksaw Jim Duggan song while you're listening to the news on the radio." So, I agree. Slaughter was off. I mean, I noted down like the whole Veterans Day thing at the beginning got him a ton of heat, and he needed it all because there was nothing after that. He stalled a lot. He missed a clothesline. He botched another one. The clothesline that he used to finish the match with was weak. He was really struggling in the ring. I ended up giving the match. Earlier on in the show, I took a half a star off for the bad finish. I have given an extra half a star for Hacksaw Jim Duggan losing cleanly because that surprised me, and so I gave it 1.5.
Yep, sounds like we're all in a bit in alignment right there on that one. And we'll see if Sarge, if things pick up for him in the ring. Been shaky so far, and the crowd's definitely starting to get burnt a bit. If Duggan and the USA Champs can't rally them after Sarge's promo, they're maybe starting to fade a bit here. We get Vince narrating some WWF action in an ad with a wild flurry of superlatives. He really unloads in that one to put over the promotion. And we head back to the ring for our next to last match of the night as Bret the Hitman Hart takes on the Barbarian, which is kind of a sneaky fun match on paper here late in the show. Good spot for Bret. Nice solo showcase. Mooney puts him over right away. Says this is more even on paper than you may think. Jimmy still seems broken up when the Hart Foundation broke up back in the day. He sounds a little wispy about it all. Talks about the knot on his head from Hogan earlier. Barbarian lands the first heavy shot with a big slam, stomps away, clubs the Hitman as Mooney says he's a barbaric animal when it comes to in-ring action. Barbarian focuses on the back with the hard strikes and slams, ragdolling the Hitman. Barbarian misses an elbow off the middle rope, and then Bret starts to fire away with punches, and he hits a side Russian leg sweep and elbow off the middle rope for 2. Bret gets a clothesline for a near fall. That looked a little botched due to the camera angle. Bret charges, and Barbarian catches him with a great power slam for 2. Bret tries a sunset flip. Barbarian drops down to his knees for 2, but gets cocky, and Bret pulls him into a flip and gets the big win. A high-quality victory for Bret to beat Barbarian clean as a sheet when he's kind of being pushed. Solid match, not long enough to get cranking, really, but it was nice to see Bret last and out-duel Barbarian to get a win here on this show late in the night. I went 2.5, Dave. A very fine match.
Yeah, I enjoyed this match. I was surprised we didn't see the Anvil tonight. I don't know. I don't remember you mentioning him being on the other loop, so I'm not sure why we only had Bret and no Anvil. But clearly, it's very clear that I think this is part of the whole. Let's see what Bret can do on his own, and he rose to the occasion. I thought Bret looked really good. Barbarian, we know he can work when he wants to. They both seem motivated. There's nothing offensive in it. A nice clean win. I really struck the referee in this match. This old referee, his counts were slow. He mucked a couple of them. One of them, it looked like he hit the 3 count when it was clear. A clear kick out occurred. It sort of detracted a little bit from what was going on at times because I was getting distracted by how bad the referee was.
That ref is problematic, and we're not done with him on this run of MSG's coming up.
Yeah, and I really loved Jimmy Hart talking about his history with Bret Hart and just going all the way back to, mate, it's this thing, we mentioned it before. They're putting out their history, like their history. Jimmy Hart used to manage the Harts, has always hated it that they turned on him. He carries that little vendetta, and it's been 2-3 years since that breakup, but they're still 2.5 years, and they're still harping on about it. And it's something we don't see today. We don't see in the modern product, references to past interactions and past history a lot, and not even the long history, not even what they did in another company, but what they did in the own company from several years earlier. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it added to the commentary, hearing Jimmy doing that complaining and having his gripe, and it sort of certainly added to the story that was being told. So I enjoyed the match. 2.5.
I was stunned at many things about this match. Number one, the length. It was only 4:09. Maybe they should have taken some time from the fucking tugboat Zhukov match and put it on here, because I think I would have enjoyed that better. Secondly, about this referee, and this is one of those OCD things that get on my nerves. Bret gives his tag belt to the referee, and then the referee holds it up. Like the tag belt's on the line. You fucking asshole. Just give it to the timekeeper, move on. Why are you holding it up as if like it's for one half of the tag team titles? I don't know. That annoyed me for some reason. I don't know why, but I thought it was a goofy way for the Barbarian to lose. Like, he's usually not that pompous to lose a match like that, so that was kind of weird. Having said that, I gave it 2.5 stars. It was fun. It was a good little sprint. Obviously, the writing is on the wall for the Hart Foundation sometime in the future, because we don't see the Anvil on the other loop wrestler. I don't think we did anyway. Let me see if he's on the other loop. Did I say his name on the other loop? Let me look.
I don't remember you saying his name.
Let me see. Let me look at the other show at Joe Louis. Jim Neidhart. No, so even more evidence then. Neidhart wasn't on the other loop wrestling solo, but Bret's wrestling solo at the Garden, and he did win the match earlier in the day at the Cap Center as well. So obviously, there is a future here. They're finally. This tire kicking is legit, I think. But a fun little match. Again, 4 minutes, 9 seconds, nothing crazy. But I was stunned that this match was not longer. And I don't know, that whole thing, and that referee was just the pits, and JR is right. I thought he would have retired by now, but far from it. But why are you holding up the fucking tag belt like it's on the line? God, that's stupid. I don't know why that annoys me, but I had a feeling he was going to do it. I was specifically watching to see if he would do it, He took the belt from Bret, and I figured you just walk over, you give it to the timekeeper, and you move on. No, he actually held it up. I don't know why that annoyed me, but it did. Anyway, decent match. Fun sprint, and Bret gets the win. And but that ending was odd because Barbarian's usually not that pompous in his matches, but to be that pompous, I guess it was an easy way for him to lose without really losing clean per se by doing something stupid. So, but Hitman gets the win as expected, and it's a harbinger of things to come.
All right, on to our main event. Before we do that, The Fink Comes Out runs on our annual Christmas week show, as we talked about earlier. And then we get to our final match of the night as Demolition takes on the Rockers. And a year ago, this would have been super exciting, honestly, to see this match. But right now, not so much. Smash and Crush are out their new evil generic music. The remnants of the old school Demolition have officially been crushed to dust. Mooney tells us that Tunney has ruled 3 Demolition members are no longer allowed. And this is the result. We find out that Smash and Crush are the ones that have survived. Axe has been pushed aside. The Rockers come out to a big pop, and this is a cool closer match for them. A good spot. Mooney says Sean has informed them his knee is healed, better than ever. He also says Tunney put Demolition on probation, and he wonders what that entails. Crush and Marty get us going. Honky Tonk shits all over Jack Tunney. Crush swats off Marty, who resets in the corner. Marty gets going with a speed and tries a front chancery, but Crush breaks it up by lifting him to the top rope. Marty leaps off, but Crush catches him in a bear hug, drives him to the corner. Crush hammers away, but Marty's able to make the tag. Sean comes in and gets nailed, and Smash gets the tag and works him over. Sean comes back with a flurry for 2, keeps peppering away for near falls. We get a series of quick tags and arm work, and when that ends, Marty gets cut down, eats a hard short clothesline from Smash. Marty gets knocked outside, but Smash pulls him back in and clubs away before tagging Crush. He comes off the top rope with a double axe. Crush grabs a bear hug as Jimmy talks about Hulk Hogan ragdolls instead of a wrestling buddy, which I thought was funny. Demolition double team continue to batter Marty's back. Hunky says he doesn't think they've lost a step at all with Crush in there for Axe. Clearly wrong. We get a cool struggle where Marty finally leaps and makes a tag. Sean comes in and cleans house, gets a near fallen Smash. Sean gets a sunset flip off the apron. Leverages Smash down, but only gets 2. Mooney has called this a mega match multiple times. Sean gets a sidekick for 2, and then things break down. Rockers hit Crush with a double sidekick, knocks him outside, hits a double on Smash. Sean goes up top. Marty launches him on Smash for a big splash. The ref starts to count, but in comes Crush. He yanks the ref for the DQ, and what a stupid fucking finish. I hated this. Demolition is toast. Give it up. The Rockers need a win. Why can't we just let them win? Cromulent match. Perfectly fine. Paint by numbers tag work. The crowd was into the Rockers. Demolition hasn't totally combusted yet, but it's clear the magic is gone. And Honky mentions mega matches again, so I meant to look, and I didn't. Scott, I don't know if you have Graham pulled up. Was this on like the mega matches VHS? I know there was one. I feel like they say it like 3 or 4 times during this match, so it had to be some reason. But good enough. Nothing that'll ever stand out long term. It was a fine tag. The finish was real dumb, especially at the end of the night. Just fucking let Smash lose. Who cares? 2.5 for me. I can look it up, Scott, if you want to talk. That's fine.
No, I got it on the page. I gave this match 3 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun. The ending did suck. I was not crazy about why this couldn't be a clean finish. Let's see. Nope. No. Brad. Graham does not have any VHS, compilations, other DVD or VHS connected to it. So
okay, that's weird. The way he kept saying it really made it seem like it was something specific.
Although this card has 2 of them though. The Piper match, the Perfect Von Erich match is actually on the Perfect DVD, and the Dustin match is on the tag is on the Dusty DVD. So it's kind of strange. Why would that match be on there? He looked terrible.
All right, so anyway. There's a Mega Matches VHS in '91 that gets released.
Yes, there was.
Tito versus Earthquake, Bossman versus Heenan, Duggan Slaughter, Bret Barbarian, Bushwhackers Rhythm and Blues, Hogan Dino, Bulldog Haku, Savage Duggan, Savage Warrior in a cage. So I wonder if Bret Barbarian and Duggan Slaughter, maybe they were saying that like because they didn't know which matches they were going to show.
Right.
But it looks like maybe at least 2 from this card were on that tape.
Did you say Hogan Bravo? Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Savage Warrior. That might have been our last one, our last MSG maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That's possible. Anyway, 10:53 your match time. I enjoyed this match. I thought it was really good. The ending did suck. And something weird I noticed during the commentating as well. They did the whole Jack Tunney, they officially slammed the door on Axe by saying that there will no longer be in essence, there'll no longer be a Freebird rule for Demolition. Mm-hmm. There must only be 2. So of course Axe is gone and it's Smash and Crush. And Mooney says that Tunney has put Demolition, quote, on probation. So I don't know if this was just the start of kind of leaning towards them dissolving and getting, them leaving now. Or,
they're around for a while as a team, so.
Yeah, I'm not saying immediately, but I don't know.
Yeah,
for some reason
I think it's just gobbledygook. I don't think it's anything.
Yeah.
By the way, that Hogan Bravo match and Mega Matches was in the Providence Civic Center, Providence, Rhode Island. So there you
go. How riveting. Yeah. So, I mean, it was fun. I thought Sean and Marty worked their asses off. They should have won this match clean. End the show on a high note. Why are we protecting a team that's already lost a zillion times to fucking Warrior and Legion of Doom? So I don't get that either. But I thought the match was really good. 3 stars for me. I've been throwing stars all over the place tonight, but it's been a really fun show in a lot of ways. Some endings have been shaky, but the in-ring has actually been very energetic. The crowd's been hot
for late
all night.
90. I'm with you. For late 90, it's the card has surprisingly strong star power and pretty good in-ring action. For what we've seen, like post-Mania, it's pretty strong. That Bret Barbarian match on the tape is from tonight, and then Bulldog Haku was from October MSG that we saw.
Good. Well, that match is awesome, the Bulldog Haku match. But yeah, I don't understand why we're protecting. Sometimes I understand, some of these fucking agents on these shows, these guys backstage, they get their heads up their asses. What? Who made a decision to protect fucking Demolition? Should the Rockers win, for Christ's sakes. They're the younger, hotter team. You want them to be forwarded for future possible title shots on other loops. Why are we having this broken down fucking loser team that, yes, admittedly, 8 months earlier they were on top of the world at Skydome, but that was a different Demolition than we see now. I mean, they even had that garbage theme, like the cool Demolition theme's gone, and they got that weird, like, dome, boom, boom, do or whatever the hell it was. This is garbage. But I thought the match was great, Dave, but the ending was rough. No reason the Rockers shouldn't have won.
Yeah, I agree. The ending was awful. The Demolition have finished their run with the Road Warriors. There was no need to keep them strong. The Rockers, I was just thinking, and maybe this ties in with why Brett and Anvil weren't together, but I was just thinking the fact that until another decision was made only a few days earlier, the Rockers could have almost come into this match as the tag team champions because they'd had that win just before Survivor Series. But I don't know why you wouldn't let them go over strong. Demolition, they're a shell of they are my Demolition, Axe and Smash are my favorite team of all time. They're a shell of that team now. The entry music just turned me off straight away. I'm like, where's my Demolition entrance music? It wasn't there. Smash looked like he was now phoning it in. You guys spoke at Survivor Series about Axe looking like he didn't want to be there. Smash gone is the energetic, over the top, strong looking Smash, and in his place is this bloke who doesn't seem to want to be out there anymore either. So I felt that struggle, but the Rockers, they looked good. They were really good in the ring. They made the match. Crush actually played a really good power man in this match, and I think it played well to the Rockers' strengths. The one thing that really stood out to me at the end of the match is they did another one of those sunset flips and the big strong man trying to avoid going down. It was the third time tonight. It happened in the Haku Douglas match and it happened in the Bret Hart Barbarian match. And I just wondered who on earth is putting these matches together when we're seeing that spot multiple times on the one show. But I took a half a star off for the horrible finish and I gave it 2.5.
Yeah, we are pretty tropey at this point. A lot of these matches seem to follow standard format much of the time. All right, so that'll do it here from Madison Square Garden. We'll go ahead and do our awards, and then we'll wrap things up. Match of the night for me, I really like Tornado versus Perfect the most.
Me too.
Yeah, I agree. I want to give an honourable mention to Haku and Douglas for what they did in the ring, but Perfect and Tornado was the best match.
Worst match to me was easily Tugboat versus Zhukov.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty awful.
All right, Andre Award for the MVP. I went Mr. Perfect. He was awesome in the match and the post-match and the promo. He really stood out tonight.
Oh, you stole my thunder. I was going to go with Perfect too. I thought you were going to go with Hogan, but yeah, no, Perfect was on fire tonight. The match was good because again, I like the unhinged side of Perfect we don't normally see. So it was great. It was a great ending.
Yeah, make it another clean sweep. Perfect for me.
All right, the freshly minted Bolshevik Award that we renamed on our last episode, and more fitting could be to name Boris Zhukov the winner of the initial Bolshevik Award for the worst worker on the night.
I wanted to give it to him, but I could not go past Virgil. He was horrible in the tag match, and I couldn't go past those mucked up spots and sending himself over the top rope. So I went with Virgil.
Scott.
Oh God. Nah, Zhukov was fucking horrendous. Virgil's not a wrestler, so if he screws up, that's fine. But Boris Zhukov's just garbage. He shouldn't be on any shows ever anymore.
All right. Post-match, I went Mr. Perfect's wild manic attack.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. The awesome. Warrior Award for the most juiced up gentleman of the evening. I went the British Bulldog. I thought he stood out among his peers tonight.
Yeah, I agree. You had a couple of guys in there to try and match it. Barbarian was big. I noted that Kerry Von Erich looked ripped, but Bulldog was by far and away the most roided.
I don't know. I mean, I want to give it to Bulldog, but I tell you, Kerry definitely looked bigger than normal. I normally don't break from the pack, but I'm gonna go with Tornado. I thought he was really, really stretching his skin on this night.
And the Rooster Award for the worst hair of the night, I went yet again with the Playboy Buddy Rose. 2 straight with his Christine Baskets hairstyle.
Blonde Darth Vader. Yeah, I agree. Although Dusty's hair he looked like he had a helmet on. His was a little rough too, but I'm gonna go with Buddy Rose.
I felt it a little unfair because we had a match earlier on. We had Hogan and Earthquake with their skullets. We had Boris Zhukov, who's bald. We had Virgil, who's bald. We had Sergeant Slaughter, who's bald. We had General Adnan with a headdress on. I was sitting there going, there's not a lot of contenders for worst hair. I want to give an honourable mention to Mr. Perfect's perfect perm that seemed to permeate from his head during the latter stages of the match, but I will go along with you guys and give it to Buddy Rose.
All right. Nearly a clean sweep tonight on the awards. And finally, the grade. This is a fun show to watch nostalgic-wise. Like you said, Scott, it was better than recent fare from this time period, but I really didn't like a lot of the finishes. And we didn't really get that standout match. We had some good stuff, but to me, the best match topped out at 3. That was Hogan Quake and Tornado Perfect. Perfect's post-match stuff was great, but beyond that, this felt very just kind of spinning wheels for most of the show. So I went 5 out of 10. I feel like a very kind of down the middle show for me. Some bad, some good. Nothing really stood out. Nothing really was awful. Even the tugboat match was, quick enough. So again, a little disappointing, but that's where I felt.
I just think that the card. I thought the in-ring work was really, really good for most of the night. Most of the endings did suck, but the in-ring was good. And this roster was loaded tonight. Piper, Perfect, Bulldog, Hogan,
everyone.
Dusty,
everyone but
DiBiase.
Warrior and Savage pretty much was here.
Yeah, everybody but Warrior and Savage,
Jake.
and they were under the loop.
Jake was not here either,
and Jake. So I'm going to bump it up a little bit more.
Well, maybe it was a little bit more star power than we're giving him credit for at this point, but.
Yeah, no, the roster's definitely creeping up a bit. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I'll add an extra point for the roster, and the in-ring work was really good, but the endings were bad, and it wasn't perfect. And I also have to take into account the commentating really was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So I got to give props to Mooney, Jimmy, and Honky. I thought they really were better than I thought they were going to be, and I think that needs to be emphasized here because when you first see the show start, you're like, oh, God. But no way. They were really good. They were as good as they were going to be. So 6 out of 10 for me, Dave.
Yeah, I got to agree with you with the commentary. I was really worried when I saw it was Honky Tonk and Jimmy at the start of the night, but I quite enjoyed their chemistry was good and they added to the show. I'll split you guys. I've gone 5.5. I honestly think if the finish to the Rockers Demolition match was clean and if the Hogan Earthquake match had a better finish, I think it would have been up there as a really strong overall card. But in the end, I think I agree it was pretty well good in ring, but nothing over the top spectacular, but nothing bad. So I went 5.5.
All right, there you go. That'll do it. Another episode of the book. Scott will be back in 2 weeks' time we're going to wrap up 1990. We started 1990 last September, and we're going to wrap it up in 2 weeks' time with the December 28th, 1990 house show, the old Sheriff Pete special, but Steve Bennett will be joining us again for that one, and then we'll get to the 91 Rumble a few weeks after that. So some good stuff coming up. Good stuff coming up there. All right, so over on the North-South Connection, pretty good week coming up. We had From Montreal to Memphis drop today. Reg and Aaron talked all about Brock Lesnar. We have a new TNA Never Dies tomorrow, or when you hear this, could be on whatever, on Tuesday that hits. We're going to be looking at the third NWA TNA pay-per-view special, Wrestling Warzone. Me and Chad back on Thursday. That'll look at the April 8th week of television, Nitro and Raw. That'll be a couple weeks removed from WrestleMania. And we have a new No Holds Barred coming on July 4th, Independence Day. A little special treat, holiday-themed for you on that. We'll be hitting. The past week has some good stuff, too. We had a brand new A Year That Was. Aaron looked at 1986, which I thought was a great listen. Talked about the year as a whole and then dove into the big event. And Ruthlessly Aggressive was a lot of fun this week, too. Jake Williams joined by Logan Crossland. They looked at the Backlash Fallout from 2002. And we also had a new Extreme three-way dance. Me, John, and Jenny looked at Three-Way Dance 1995, which is a really fun installment of ECW programming. So check all that out. And finally, No Holds Barred did drop over the weekend. We did a new bracketology, setting up our newest Twitter tournament, which is the best SummerSlam non-main event match tournament. So this is the selection show. We chose each match from each show and then ranked them to build the tournament brackets. That tournament started today on my Twitter at JT the Pod Guy. So every day between 9 and 10 a.m. Eastern, I post the polls. And today we opened with the first couple of matchups, which saw Punk versus Lesnar from 2013 take on Rey Mysterio versus Kane for 2010. That's the 132 matchup, obviously. And then we had a dogfight, the 16-17, and the poll's still open. John Cena versus Chris Jericho from 05 and John Cena versus Seth Rollins from 15. They're going head-to-head right now, and they're at the tight one. That's the 16-17 matchup. So the winner of that will face Punk Lesnar, which is going to win, obviously. So that's it for me. Scott, what do you want to talk about?
What I want to talk about is where is your poll? Why am I missing it? Oh, I'm looking for the poll and I don't. Where the heck's the poll? Oh, there it is. Okay. I haven't voted yet today. I'm voting right now. I'm of course voting for Punk Brock because that's one of my favorite matches ever. And good pair of Cenas. Very interesting. You know what? I'm going to go with the Rollins match. I actually like that one. And as of at the moment, Cena Jericho 52-2, Cena Rollins 47.8.
Yeah, it's a tight race. So still plenty. If you're listening to this when it drops and you haven't voted, head over. Polls close usually around like 9 a.m. or so you get the time.
Yes. We had a great week, as you heard in the live read on the PTB Wrestling Network. And we got a good week this week. We got this awesome show that you and I just did. At the moment, Benzani should have another episode of Row 1 Seat 1 popping up Wednesday. Friday, our next episode of the main event, Nate, Steve, and I will be talking about wrestling in 2020. Could this possibly be the worst year in wrestling history? In more ways than one. And, of course, we'll be continuing our little TNA tour. I believe we're in the beginning of 2003, so check that out this week as well. Dr. G and I, it is 4th of July this weekend. So on this week's episode of the NWA Saturday Special, we'll talk about the legacy, fitting because NXT's doing it this week, the legacy of the Great American Bash, going back to the mid-'80s when Dusty invented it, outdoor show tours, who came up with that, how, why did it work, etc. So check it out this weekend on the NWA Saturday Special on the feed. And I believe we'll be having another episode of Wrestling's Chicken Salad with Ben Locke and Rory McNamara's Senior Video. I think a new one next week as well. So a lot of great stuff as well on the other side of the quad here on the Place to Be Wrestling Network. So check that out as well. Follow me on Twitter at PTB Podfather. Two things I want to bring up. Number one, when it's applicable, check my Twitter out every day because you may see a surprise anniversary tweet. Because, JR, this is the mothership. It's the show I love more than any. And I love pimping the great shows we've done in the past as well as the present. So every once in a while, you'll see a tweet from me honoring a show, a WWE pay-per-view anniversary. And if JR and I did a show for it, I'm going to link it and go back to it and check out some of the great shows that my PSE and I have done in the past. And I was talking to Dave during the break. We're coming up on halfway through the year 2020, which means you have just over 6 months to get your GWCW ballot filled, watch matches, talk, negotiate, haggle, all the feeds here, the Place to Be Wrestling Network, the No-So feed, even the Jenny position. We all talk about some great WCW matches. Get your ballot together. This has been one of the most exciting years we've had, JR, since the start of our major projects, where people are excited. There's electricity in the air of ballots and matches and everything. It's been really great. Let's keep the energy going. We got great written pieces, great podcasts, plenty of, get the crowd going. Plenty of great stuff. So get your ballots going as the year progresses, and then on New Year's Eve, hand it in. In 2021, we will have a countdown. It's going to be a ton of fun. So keep researching. JR and I will be researching when I visit in a few weeks. And I'm sure you and Mr. D'Amato are doing some researching this weekend too. Keep it up. Keep watching matches. Get yourself educated. Put a ballot together.
Dave, anything you want to talk about?
As you mentioned earlier, I co-host the Low Blow Booking Podcast with Derek Cornett. You can get us on most of the podcast providers, so I encourage you to check us out. What we do is we look at old cards that and old storylines that perhaps weren't done very well or have a bad reputation, and we try to put together perhaps a new card in its place using the wrestlers that were available at the time. So we've just this last weekend, we recorded WrestleMania 2000. We did a bit of a quick overview of WrestleMania 2000 and all the multi-man matches they had, and we changed the card up a bit and tried to create a card that we thought might be more memorable in its place. So encourage you guys to check it out. We've also got a Facebook page, Low Blow Booking Podcast, so I encourage you guys, amongst all the other bazillion wrestling podcasts that are out there in the world, ask you guys to maybe give us a bit of a check out and listen. If you like what you see, give us a shout out on Facebook. So that's up and available now.
Very good. All right, everyone have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you 2 weeks' time here. Check out all the feeds we talked about tonight. Thank you for joining us as always. Talk to you soon.
Peace out.